Oh, what's going on, people? I am Dukedobbins, FTW. And history will judge Sony harshly for the role it's played in keeping gamers segregated for so long across consoles. Over the last few years, crossplay has gradually moved from a wistful fantasy to a fairly common practice. Popular games like Minecraft, Rocket League, and now Fortnite have bridged the gap between console, PC, and even mobile devices, giving players and developers a small taste of the perks crossplay has to offer. Unsurprisingly, devs like Epic Games are now pushing for more, because what's been accomplished thus far is nothing compared to the benefits we would reap by opening up crossplay between the tens of millions of players on consoles. One of the great things about Fortnite's record-shattering success is the effect it's having on the industry as a whole. Games like Battlefield 5 are adopting Fortnite's sales model, making their future DLC free and getting rid of random rolls for the cosmetics you buy. Games like Call of Duty are for the first time in a decade trying something actually new with the Battle Royale mode. In less than a year, Fortnite, through the sheer strength of its success, has pushed other industry leaders to adopt big changes that player base has been begging for the last decade. More recently, Fortnite has reignited the ongoing controversy over crossplay, or lack thereof. Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney claims that PS4 and Xbox crossplay will be the greatest thing to ever happen to consoles, and that he thinks crossplay between the two is inevitable. But is it? Because players, developers, and even powerful corporations like Microsoft have been pushing for crossplay for years, but to no avail. Because Sony is determined to block it. Now, why is that? In the past, Sony has claimed it's because they're worried about not being able to manage their customers' interactions with people on other platforms, saying, and I quote, "We have a contract with people who go online with us that we look after them, and they're within the PlayStation curated universe, exposing what in many cases are children to external influences we have no ability to manage or look after. It's something we have to think about very carefully." So they're basically saying they're worried their customers are going to run into some rapist who they won't be able to ban. But they're obviously not actually concerned about this because Sony has now allowed crossplay with mobile devices and PC. Is the idea supposed to be there aren't any racists or rapists on anything but Xbox? Please! Don't get me wrong, I'm sure we have a high volume of those types, but I promise you PC has more. So that excuse was obviously bullshit, but okay, they got away with it for a few years. Now, after they've enabled crossplay with these other peoples, and their previous excuse has been revealed as the sham and false virtue signaling that it was, their new excuse when they get pushed about this nowadays is, and I quote, "We're always open to hearing what the PlayStation community is interested in to enhance their gaming experience. With more than 80 million monthly active users on PlayStation Network, we've built a huge community of gamers who can play together on Fortnite and all online titles. We also offer Fortnite crossplay support with PC, Mac, iOS, and Android devices, expanding the opportunity for Fortnite fans on PlayStation 4 to play with even more gamers on other platforms. We have nothing further to add beyond this at this point." So now, this isn't even an excuse, right? They're basically just saying, fuck you, we have a lot of players, that's not enough, cry about it. I mean, come on. Shame on you, Sony. We all know the real reason Sony is blocking crossplay is to maintain an edge in the market. It's no big secret, PlayStation outsold Xbox, and that initial success gives them a huge advantage. One of the big things anyone considers when deciding what console to buy is which console their friends on. Presently, many more of your friends are much more likely to be on PlayStation, thus PlayStation is going to see more sales. It's a valuable selling point to have when the actual consoles themselves are so similar that it usually takes expert technical analysis to find even the most trivial of differences between the two. Sony's motto is for the players, but clearly someone in marketing misspelled profits. This isn't to suggest Microsoft is some white knight. Pushing for crossplay is the obvious and logical way to neutralize their competitors' advantage, and when their positions were reversed, Microsoft did literally the exact same thing and used the exact same bullshit excuse about, not being able to monitor people on other platforms or whatever. I'm not on Team Sony or Microsoft. None of us should be because you have no actual stake in their success. We should all be on the consumer's team. Yes, we all fought in the console wars when we were 13-year-old boys because 13-year-old boys like to turn everything into a dick measuring contest. Who made the better choice of console? Me, I did. But we can't let the sins of the past divide us now in this struggle to tear down the empty walls that bar us from one another. I remember that vicious hack in 2011 or whatever it was when PlayStation Network was down for weeks and I'd upvote snarky comments about how you get what you pay for and all this shit, and I'm sorry. I lived through the humiliation of the Kinect and paying an extra $100 just so the NSA could archive hours of me jerking off in my room and I could take bullshit deaths in multiplayer every time the stupid thing thought I was talking to it and took me to the home screen for no reason. And for the last 6 years or so, y'all on PlayStation have had things like early Infinite Warfare DLC, exclusive access to Destiny content. Surely you have had your vengeance. Are we not even? Can we not make peace? For we must come together to stop this treachery in which we see capitalism working in reverse. The idea is supposed to be that they compete for our benefit, but here Sony is competing by deliberately denying its customers a better product and service. It's shameful. And unlike before, this is now hurting PlayStation owners more than anyone else. Xbox and Switch owners will be able to play with one another, but Sony can't play with either. Furthermore, if you created your account on Sony, they've locked it to where you can't take it with you to those other platforms. So if you decide you want to play on a Switch, which has mobile capabilities that the PlayStation doesn't, has technical capabilities that your phone doesn't, the best of both worlds, well, you don't get to take your account and all your emotes and the shit you bought and your progression and stats. It's a flagrantly anti-consumer practice. They're basically telling their tens of million customers that if they buy another console, they can fuck themselves. What a shameful, shameful thing to do. And it's just so tragic, because every single gamer on any system would benefit tremendously from crossplay between the consoles. It would inject tens of millions of players into each system's playlist populations. This is why game developers have been leading the push for crossplay, because they know their games will be so much more enjoyable when player populations are doubled or tripled. Think about it. It means significantly faster matchmaking times on any game you play. You'll be able to find matches at 3 a.m. on a school night just as fast as you find them now on a weekend afternoon. It means better average connections because you'll have access to so many more players in your immediate region. It means games can include way more playlists without having to worry about diluting the player base, right? Many of those popular rotational playlists on Fortnite could become permanent. But more importantly than all that is the social benefit to gamers everywhere who will have much bigger friends lists. As Sweeney brought up when discussing it, for Sony and Microsoft to support their customers, well, they have to be open to all their customers' friends, their real-world friends. Otherwise, they're breaking up real-world social groups. And this is so true. I remember in school, most of my friends played on PlayStation 4 and we'd swap stories sometimes, but they'd always have their own stories, their own inside jokes about someone's fuck up on Call of the Dead or whatever. I remember the heartache, those days after practice when they'd be like, I'll see you online when I get home, and I'd know I was going home to play alone. How many kids are silently suffering out there because they accidentally bought the minority console in their school? And on the flip side, how many friendships are there that could have been but never were? One of my best friends today, the guy who edits my videos, probably wouldn't have ended up my close friend if we'd been on different consoles. Because, we were friends in middle school in the way that you're friends with every jackass you have classes with over the years. But we didn't travel in the same social circles or anything, He was into skating and huffing glue. I liked football and pussy. His mom would volunteer to chaperone and drive on school field trips, and they had like an Xbox with Halo 2 rigged up in the backseat of their minivan somehow. And I would beg to go in his car, but he would tell me to fuck off and take a bunch of cuckseed notes since elementary school instead. But then MW2 came around, and we had exchanged gamer tags, just cuz, but suddenly we realized we fucking liked playing games together. Finally, someone on my skill level. Finally, someone else who sees the wisdom in abandoning all real life and physical activity just to play games. We had found in each other, finally, someone who understands, and suddenly this acquaintance I would give a head bob to passing by in the hallway became a friend I was gaming with all day every day. Fast forward a few years and we're in business together. A friendship that wouldn't have come about had we been on different consoles. How many people are missing out on BFFs and business partners because they are on the wrong console? And had crossplay existed then, I might have even found a better friend on PlayStation than the glue-huffing cynic I'm stuck with. Metcalfe's law states that the effect of a telecommunications network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users of the system. For example, if only 2 phones existed in the world, only one connection would be possible, right? Between the person with the phone and the other person with the phone. But the more phones you add, the number of potential connections increases exponentially, because each person can call each other person, right? So with 5 phones, you have 10 different connections. With 12 phones, suddenly you have 66 unique connections, and so on and so forth, because every person can now connect with every other person. So there's all this potential. Now replace telephone calls with potential friendships and imagine how high the number jumps when it's tens of millions of new users being thrown into the mix with tens of millions of others. There's like hundreds of millions of potential friendship connections that aren't being made because Sony's a dick. I know motherfuckers who met their lovers over games, alright? Their girlfriends and shit. Millions and millions of potential marriages gone because Sony's a dick. Imagine a brighter future. When you load into Monster Hunter missions, there's always someone at your level doing the mission you're doing. No more placements and diamonds in your Overwatch matches. Much shorter queue times in older, less popular shooters you want to revisit, like Doom. It means games like Evolve dying less often and after having much longer lifespans. And devs are more than happy to put the tech in place themselves. In fact, Xbox and PlayStation users actually got to play Fortnite against each other briefly when Epic Games accidentally let crossplay go live due to a configuration error. And many games developers have now put the tech in place for phone to PC, PC to console, just never between the consoles because Sony won't let them. And it's absolutely their right, their fiduciary responsibility even, to do what's in their best interest financially. But it's also our right to know that Sony has put its profit above the best interests of its customers and judge them accordingly. The only way this is going to change is if enough awareness is raised about this issue that the negative publicity begins to outweigh the benefits of segregating the platforms. We need to be talking about it more, alright? That's why I'm making the video. Every conversation you have with a coworker or a new friend at school, and it's right after EA Play, and you're both super hyped about Battlefield 5, and fanboying about how your favorite Battlefields in the past, and you're like, well, let's add each other and play sometime. And then he's like, I'm on PlayStation, and you realize you will never play together. So you never become more than just acquaintances, and then that motherfucker grows up to be the CFO of some Fortune 500 company, and he invites all his friends he grew up playing PlayStation with to his mansion to get drunk and play on trampolines and water slides and mechanical bulls, and you don't get to go because you weren't one of those friends. Remember, that's because Sony shit in your mouth and we let it happen. If you support the cause, I encourage you to share the hashtag #ShameOnSony. The only way to break this blockade is awareness and shame. Spread both as much as you can, because there are cracks in the dam and I can see them. And once it breaks with Fortnite, every game will follow, ushering in a new golden era of gaming. Thanks for watching. Please remember to rate. This is Batman, signing out.
Fuck me. 20 kills.